So in task 7, we have the task of creating a smart camera, and that's the first time that we've heard about that term. And what does it mean? Well, it means when Raiden is actually playing and he's at the bottom of the map. This is what our camera is doing, right? It's like moving the map around the position of the ship. But what it should look like is like that, right? With the ship here at the bottom of the screen. And then when we're on the left side of the screen like that, it shouldn't look like this. It should look like that with the ship here on the left side of the screen. And then when we're on the right side, it shouldn't look like that. It should look like that with the ship on the right side of the screen, on the far right. But the camera's doing what it should be doing, right? When the ship is in the middle of the world, it should do this. It should have the map move around relative to the position of the ship. It's just when the ship hits the edge right there, the X offset should stop being calculated, right? Or it should stay the same value. And then when I go off the right side and I go there, right, whatever that Y offset is calculated as, should stay the same when the ship is traveling from this location to this location, right? Y offset should stay the same. And same thing with the bottom, right? So how do we do that? Well, we need to calculate, first of all, what the Y offset would be when the screen gets to this location. And if the Y offset is trying to calculate to what it would be from here to here, we want to stop that calculation and keep it the same, right? Okay, so if we take a look at this screen here, right? What is the Y offset when we're calculating at this location? Well, it's the location of the inner screen, X and Y value, flipped, right? So the X offset of the camera is going to be the position of the top left corner of the inner screen, 100, flipped, so that'd be negative 100, and the Y would be flipped as well, so it'd be negative 200. All right. And if we wanted to think about it in terms of, these little positions of the ship and the inner screen and the world, this would be the expression, right? So negative shipwrecked X plus the inner screen window divided by 2, right? That would give us this location. So if we imagine the ship moving to the right, to such a place where the right side of the inner screen is equal to the right side of the world's, then what would the X offset and Y offset be? That's what we want to know, right? So if the ship moved to the right 50 units, then our X position would be 150 and our Y position would stay the same at 200, right? What would our X offset be calculated as for the camera entity or the camera object? Well, it'd be the flipped, right? The sign would be flipped, so it'd be negative 150 as the ship moves 50 units to the right. So you can see as the ship is moving to the right, the X offset is decreasing, right? It's currently at negative 150. Currently at negative 100. He moves to the right 50, negative 150, negative 200, negative 250, and so on, right? So if the ship is moving to the right, the X offset of the camera object is decreasing in value from a negative number to a larger negative number. So what is that value going to be when the ship's right side of the inner screen matches up with the right side of the world? Well, it would be the window's width. The world's width, right? This from here 0 to here. Let's say it's 1,000, and if we say that the inner screen is 500, it would be 1,000 minus 500, right? If that was the case, and the X position was 1,000 minus the world's width minus the inner screen's width, that would put the ship's right side at the right side of the screen, right? With the ship still in the center of the screen. So it would be like, here's the inner window, and here's the ship right in the middle, right? So, so let's take that information. So, yeah, let's ignore this here. And maybe we can increase the size of our font as well. Nope, bigger. All right. So, we want the width of the world minus the Windows width. Right. And this is going to be the top right. This is going to be the value of the X position of the top right. I'm sorry, the right side of the inner window. Right. World width minus window width. When you calculate, when the camera runs update and calculates the X offset, it's going to be equal to this expression, but with the sign flipped, right? So we say negative world width. Whoa. Okay. And remember, when the camera is moving to the, the ship is moving to the right, this X offset is becoming a lower and lower number, right? It's becoming more and more negative. So the condition that we want to say is if X offset is less than negative this expression up here, which in English would be if the ship is trying to move to the far right side of the screen, right? And this is true. Then what do we want to do? We want to set the X offset to this value. Okay? So basically, if the screen, that condition would be true if the screen is on the far right side of the world, right? And it would also be true if the ship is trying to move to the right side, further right, right? So the ship is here, and he's trying to move further to the right. That condition would also be true, right? And when that's the case, we don't want the X offset to be further calculated to a lower and lower negative number. We want it to stay at that same negative number. So that's what we're doing right here. Okay. So we're saying if that's true, we don't want X offset to be further calculated to a lower negative number. We want it to stay at that value. Okay. Now let's go ahead and grab this, drop it into our code. We have our update here, right, which has no checks at the moment, but I'm going to add that check in. Okay, but I need to change these up a little bit. So I believe the world is in self.container dot width, and then the width of the screen is here, win width. Okay, so that's good. And then we'll just copy that, put it right there. You might have the width of the world in a different variable, but go ahead and use that here, right? And then this X offset, what am I using for my camera? Oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm in my camera entity. I'm sorry. This should be in the camera class. So I'm over to, where am I? Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Oh no. Okay, that's a different version. But here's where I would want to be, and I'm going to my camera. This is not the right one either. Okay, here it is. All right. So we're going here to update of the camera object, and we are using self X offset. Here and here. The width of the world is in W and H. Okay, probably bad names for it, but that's what it's. This is going off of a sample program. So I'll save that and I'll run it. Oh my gosh. Okay. No attribute container. Okay, so here I saved it in world width. and world height. So wherever it is that you saved yours, go ahead and put it there. And then I will run it. So I'm moving to the right. When it gets to here, right? So we're here, and x, well, you know what? Let's just go ahead and print out the x offset so I could show you. What about that? Print x self.x. Okay. So it's going to be printing here in the console. And you can see my x offset is negative 209, which means the top right of my screen here, my inner window, is at positive 209. Right? I move to the right, my x offset decreases in value, right? So negative 244 decreases, 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 and then when I get there, right there, right, that's when the condition clicks. That's when this statement is true. Right? And if this statement is true, I do not want my x offset to continue becoming a lower and lower negative value. I want it to stay that same negative value. Right? And you can see here I'm going to move the ship to the right now, and it stays at negative 488 or 448. I move, 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 and now I have my smart camera that's smart on the right side. Right? So it doesn't keep on calculating my x offset when the ship is right here. Right, or to the right of that location. Yeah, and that's about it, I believe.